Thank you, Tim. Having evolved from being an architect into an oil palm planter, I suppose, that's a journey that I've now I look back upon, and I think at projects like SHARP is actually, which I'm going to present today, is something about, I suppose, social architecting. What we tried to do over the last year. This was first presented last November in London as a concept, and what we've done is to try to architect a multi-stakeholder partnership. Can I have the next? Oh, I'm doing the next slide. All right, that's this one. What is SHARP? We have, in fact, got several of SHARP partners in the room, and the SHARP has got a triple goal, which is about improving rural livelihoods, it's about increasing yields, and it's about reducing deforestation, and it's a transformative project. So you see on the left-hand side there, we have been working with a group of stakeholders that cover the entire supply chain on SHARP, all the way from the growers up to the retailers, and we have just generated this private sector-led model, which we think will be able to be tested and pioneered early next year. And the objectives, which you see on the right-hand side here, is to talk about sustainable livelihoods, again, increasing yields, delivering environmental benefits, and essentially empowering smallholder communities together. Now, this is the impact of SHARP. You'll see at the core there, we have smallholders, and as the circles move out, we're looking at impacts on society, impacts on government thinking, spatial planning, and of course, finally, how that impacts positively onto the environment. And essentially, if you've got a situation where you've got smallholders working in a natural situation, you should be able to elevate or increase their yields up by a factor of 4 or 5, provided you put in the right management practices and other provisions, many of which, in fact, are contained within good RSPO practices. So we do underpin this with an RSPO certification for smallholders. That's one of the catalytic effects that we hope to achieve. This slide gives you an indication of the partners that have been involved since the beginning and to this day. And you'll see that you have a number of fairly big names and brands in there who have dedicated a significant amount of time and effort and thoughts and input into building this model. We've also now, having come to the end of the design stage, been able to put the principles, I suppose, or the way that this would happen into this rather complex slide, which moves from the left-hand side in terms of funding and how you would be able to gather and collate currently big intergovernmental funds like the RED packages and so forth, all the way down on the left-hand side into what would essentially be risk mitigation funds on a project level, commercial loans and government loans directly to smallholders. And then these would then be guaranteed by palm oil companies because the benefits that they get include increased yield and reduced risk. And the SHARP Foundation is essentially a way of putting together a series of delivery partners to be able to implement projects more effectively that concern private companies and their smallholders within their supply chain. So it's a very specific way of addressing the smallholder problem. We're not leaving it out to cooperatives or to governments to create vehicles into which smallholders would be able to manage themselves, but really we're saying that a company which is reliant on outgrowers for supply into their mills and to ensure that there is an efficiency in their own operations can now help smallholders in a very direct fashion. And one of the ways of funding this also might be for channeling premiums directly through from CSPO sales into retailers back into smallholder communities in a very transparent, direct fashion. And of course then there are lessons for this not only in palm oil but potentially for other smallholder based crops, soy and so forth as well. So the foundation is a fairly extensive intellectual work, and it's going practical by the beginning of next year. And this is the timeline that you see here. We went through a design phase. We have got our partner roles identified. We're setting up some kind of an institution or foundation now, raising some funds in order to get the pilot project started, and then scaling up SHARP. So I hope that by next RT we'll be able to report that SHARP has been able to deliver some pilot projects on the ground. There we are, 11 seconds to go.